Good evening. I'm here with Louis Soltero, who is the director of the Office of Military and Veteran Affairs here at Lehman College. So give me some details on your life before you got into the military.
So I was born in Puerto Rico. At the age of 4 years old, my mom came to New York City, where I grew up in the Bronx with my two siblings, a single mom environment, where I graduated from Walton High School, and then in 1999 I joined the military service.
And how long were you in the Army?
6.5 years.
Did you deploy or see any combat? Can you
Yes.
tell me what that experience was like?
Yes, I deployed from 2003 to 2004 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom to Afghanistan with the 287 Battalion to support the infantry units in direct fires. I was the 13th Fox Field Artillery Forward Observer, so I control all direct fires in support of the infantry missions.
Okay. Well, fast forward a bit. How did you handle separating from the military?
It was a tough transition. At the time, we didn't have too much support back in 2005 because all the VSOs now, the veteran support organizations, really got kicked off now, and they really support the veterans this day and age. But back in that time, everything was still fresh. The war was still fresh. Afghanistan, Iraq was still kicking off. Soldiers were getting deployed. There was a lot of stop loss where no one actually could at ETS at the time. So the transition coming out, there wasn't really too much support for us back then because, again, everything was sort of in the development stages still.
So that led you to college. So what was your college experience like after separation?
Right, so being that I was a field artillery forward observer, the military has a transition program where they translate your job into the civilian world. My job had nothing, it was zero, only because, my job was to blow stuff up, right? So there's nothing I could blow up out here, so it was one of those things. So, but they did have jobs sort of like, being an inspector. And, the pay was real low in the 23,000 a year, 28,000 a year. And if you grew up in the Bronx or New York City area, living off of that, it really is not, conducive to life. I mean, you can't live off of that unless you actually have another partner, and they're making a lot more money than that. So that actually, I saw what the higher salaries were making, the 48,000s, the 50,000s, 60s, and they all required degrees. They all wanted degrees on different levels, different fields. So naturally, it pushed me to enrolling into BCC, where I took up some business administration courses with the computer programming option, because I figured, everything now is geared towards business, and technology was taking over back then, a lot more, just kind of more developing. So I figured if I can mix those two, I can kind of, make myself more marketable. That way I can actually get, the higher pay.
After graduating, you joined the administrative staff here at Lehman. So what was that like? What was the process like for you?
So after BCC, I enrolled into Lehman College, where I attained my computer science degree in programming. I was basically following, again, back to the technology piece, where I really wanted to understand how computers really worked. The computer science degree did give me that, where I was able to understand computers physically and all the aspects of it. So while I was actually attending school here, I picked up a part-time job at the budget office as a college assistant. So I worked there while I was actually going to school, and as I was working and everything else like that, going to school full-time. Once I graduated, the position became available as a budget analyst at the budget office. That job required me to have a degree. So naturally, since I was sort of doing the work already, they picked me up and they said, hey, you know what? Well, since you're doing the work already, we're going to hire you so you can fill the shoes of the budget analyst position.
Talk a little bit about your transition from the budget office to the Veteran Affairs office.
During the 8 years I was at the budget office, I went back and got my master's in business with the finance option, because that's the field I was in. I was coming home at 5 o'clock in the evening, just sitting in my house like, okay, what do humans do after 5 o'clock? Because that's just the usual thing, 9 to 5. So I started volunteering a lot of places to help veterans, and really trying to help them assimilate into the whole civilian life, kind of building that bridge between veterans and civilians. Because as a veteran, a lot of times we don't want to talk to civilians. Yeah. We always want to talk veteran to veteran. A lot of times we just kind of get caught up in that, they don't understand the lingo. They don't understand, so we tend to not want to talk to them. So that kind of was a big barrier. So one of the biggest things I was working on was actually to bridge that gap between the veteran civilians to kind of really get everybody coordinated together. So I was doing a lot of volunteering after work. Once I saw that the position was available at Lehman College, I naturally applied for it. I went through the interview process and everything I had to do in order to, and I got picked up for the job. So I figured, I had a great passion to help veterans because I knew myself how it was to transition from the military into the college life. So it kind of went hand in hand with everything I was doing, and I was like, it was a call. So I transitioned over in order to help the veterans.
Okay. So as director of the Veterans Affairs Office, what are some of the challenges you face stepping into that office?
So stepping into the office, it's a challenge to really get the attention of the veteran students first, because I'm coming in, no one really knows me, no one knows who I was. When they do step into office, the first question is, what do you think is the first question to ask me? Are you a veteran?
Yeah.
As soon as I say I'm a veteran, they'll sit down and they sort of become more vulnerable to actually speaking to me on a veteran basis, which worked out great. So that was sort of the first challenge. Communicating a lot to the campus to let them know who am I now. Because before they knew me as a budget analyst, and basically I was the money man, where they had to come see me for the to understand what was going on with my funds. One of the other pieces of that is also the technological piece behind it. Because now when it comes to reporting, when it comes to saying, hey, how many veterans are in Lehman College, no one knew, because as a veteran you get coded in the system as a veteran. If no one's coding you, then basically you're just a regular student. So one of the biggest challenges was to actually get the coding down packed, make sure I code the veterans, make sure everyone know what that code is, because some folks, they see the code in CUNY first and they still don't know what that code means. They just say, they see the code, they don't know it's the veteran.
What do you think your most effective change that you was able to make while being in the office? And also, what is your overall goal that you're trying to achieve as the director of the military affairs?
All right, so one of the biggest things that sort of in the process of making, and it's ongoing, but it's just to make it a one-stop shop for veterans. I'm gonna give you an example. So when a veteran receives post 9/11 or any type of VA education benefits that come to my office, they would get certified. Okay, so the certification process before was you come to my office, I basically verify that you're a veteran and that you do have VA benefits. I give you a piece of paper, you take that piece of paper to the registrar's office. The registrars, what they do is they'll certify you in the actual system to the VA. Then from there, he'll give you a piece of paper, then you take that down to the bursar's office, and in the bursar's office, they'll put a code in your system so like that they don't drop your courses or anything else like that. So I was able to actually do away with that whole process and basically just have people, the veterans, come to my office, get certified by me, become a certifying official, and I certify them, and now it kind of takes away waiting online for the registrar, waiting online for the bursar, especially in the beginning of the school. So that's one of the first things that actually I wanted to do, and I did it, and it's been working great. The students is like, oh my God, thank you. They're loving it because it's a time saver.
I know you have a veteran social club on the. So what were you trying to achieve with that, or what changes do you think it makes socially for the veterans here in interacting with each other and also interacting with other people?
Right. So we established the Veterans Club, the Lehman College Veterans Club, and the biggest push with that was actually to create a community, right? Before, when I came to school, I worked, I went to class, and I left. I didn't care about anything else was going on in school. I saw some other veterans, but they looked like they was hiding in a bush, and the only way I knew is because they had a hat with a patch on it or something. I did come to some club meetings at the time because they tried to do some club stuff, but it was really dry, so I just kind of like, I'm not ever going back to that, right? So establishing the club is there to really create that community of veterans, to know that, look, we do have a voice on campus. We are veterans. We want to talk to veterans. We want to congregate. We want to talk. We know we need each other at a certain level where civilians won't understand. Me and you could probably sit here and talk hours about our military experiences. Back and forth, and really understand each other, and then we can walk away like that sense of that feeling good, and just kind of walking away like, oh, that's my guy, But that's just it. That's the biggest thing. So we're really rolling out with a lot of physical and social engagement within the club, and within the veteran students. And of course, the club is open to all the other clubs, and everyone on campus could come to any event that we have. And that's the biggest thing. The biggest pushes out as well is that I don't want to contain the club to being just a veterans club. It's open to the campus. Collaborating with other clubs, collaborating with other departments that are doing, certain events, that's where we kind of mingle. And that's going to really create, again, that veteran voice on campus where they say, hey, we're being noticed, and yeah, we are here.
Yeah, so I was here with Luis Soltero. Thank you for your time, man, and thank you for your service to the veterans and the students here at Lehman College.
Thank you for having me. Great experience.